Welcome back to the Sunday Stache. Today, as usual, I'm going to talk about the Champions League, especially since that's what's happening right now. As it comes to an end, we're here at the semifinals. This past week, we had the first round of the semifinals of this 2020-2021 Champions League, and there were two matches that took place this week, or this past week, which were Chelsea against Real Madrid and Manchester City against PSG. The first match that I want to talk about is Chelsea against Real Madrid. This match took place in Madrid, so it was a home for Real Madrid and away for Chelsea, and that obviously will matter because of away goals. The result of this match was a tie of 1-1, and there was a really good chance in the 10th minute for Timo Werner, but it ended up, it was like a wide open shot right there. Basically, what had happened was a ball had gotten crossed across the goal. Christian Pulisic had actually headed the ball back towards the center of the goal, and Timo Werner ended up trying to put it towards the goal, but Courtois was actually able to stop it. But not too long after that, in the 14th minute, the actual first goal of the match came when Christian Pulisic put the ball in the back of the net just after he had sidestepped Courtois. It's actually a pretty good ball because it was played back from way back on the other side of the field by Rudiger, and Pulisic ended up taking it. He kind of sidestepped Courtois and put it in the back. So obviously that's a big deal for Chelsea since it's an away goal. In addition, it's a big deal for us Americans since our guy ended up scoring a high-profile goal in a high-profile match, especially in the semifinals. And I think this was actually the first American to have ever scored a goal in the semifinals of a Champions League. So I'm very, very curious to see what happens from here, especially for Christian Pulisic. That lead was almost taken away in the 23rd minute when Benzema had actually he took a shot and it actually went and deflected off of the right post. So that was actually really, really close. But Benzema wouldn't have to wait too much longer to get the equalizer in the 29th minute. Benzema found himself, as I've said before, right place, right time kind of guy, and that's just seems to be the thing that he does. So he found himself in the right place at the right time, and he put away their only goal of the match. So essentially what it was it was a corner taken from the I guess it would be the close side of the match to the camera. So it was a corner taken by Toni Kroos. He passed it to Modric. Modric ended up passing it to Marcelo, in which Marcelo had crossed it across to Casemiro, and he ended up heading it back across the goal. It took some deflections. Benzema took it off of his chest and then ended up taking the shot. Very powerful shot straight into the top of the goal, and there was basically nothing that the Chelsea goalkeeper could do about it. It went straight up there, and Benzema scored his goal. The only thing of note that happened the rest of the match were really a few cards, and then only yellows, no reds or anything like that. But eventually, Eden Hazard did come on to play. I was actually not aware that he would be healthy for this match. I knew that he was getting close, but I wasn't sure when they were going to end up putting him in. But I guess he ended up being good to go. Then again, much like his time with Real Madrid, there was very little production for the match for him. And funny enough, his previous team was Chelsea, as well as Courtois, who is Real Madrid's goalkeeper, is currently on loan from Chelsea to Real Madrid. I do think that it's a little weird that they put Hazard in right here. I know he's a good player. I think that it's a little odd that they did that. Maybe it was in an effort to try to get him some playing time or something like that, where Real Madrid maybe didn't think that they were going to end up having to score maybe or something. I'm not really sure on the strategy here. It's possible that they figured, let's carry this a tie into the next match. We'll score a couple of away goals and because the next match is going to end up being in England. So we'll score a couple of away goals, and then we'll go from there. I don't know. I don't know if that plays in or what it was that Zidane was thinking in putting Hazard in, especially for like being his first game back. I think this was his first game back from his injury, being a semifinal Champions League match. It just seems odd. I know he's a good player, but it just seems a little bit weird to me that you would put in someone who just came off of injury in a high-profile match like this. So you never know. Don't know what they were thinking. Moving on from there, as we move forward for the match between these two teams this coming week, I still think that Real Madrid are going to end up winning it. They are close to returning to the Champions League final, and I think that they have something to prove since they won 3 in a row with Ronaldo, and they need to prove that they can end up doing this without him. With this match coming up, being played in England, I think that Real Madrid are going to end up, I think they're going to score 2 goals, forcing Chelsea to have to end up scoring more. Since Real Madrid's goals are going to end up being away goals, I think that they're going to end up moving forward for that reason. Real Madrid is a very good team. Whether or not Chelsea can keep them from scoring 2 goals is the ultimate key. I think Real Madrid has the upper hand here because they are, even though Chelsea does have an away goal, I think that Real Madrid has the upper hand because they now have 90 minutes to technically score more away goals. And if it stays, if each team scores 1 goal, then they move to extra time, and any goal after that is an extra away goal for Real Madrid, which then would force Chelsea to score more. So I think that Real Madrid are going to end up moving forward. With all of that being said, what I would like to have happen is I would like to see Chelsea win. I think that would be really cool to see Christian Pulisic actually score a goal in the final, and I think that would be really good for American soccer. The second match that we had this past week was between Manchester City and PSG. The final score for this first leg was 2-1 in the favor of Manchester City, in which this match took place in France. So both of those goals for Manchester City are away goals. So PSG really does have their work cut out for them moving forward. End of the match, PSG took the lead early on with a goal by Marquinhos in the 15th minute. It was off of a corner kick, just a glancing header when it ended up going into the goal. And I think Ederson ended up, he watched it go in, but there really wasn't a whole lot that he could do. That is the beauty of a glancing header. There's really not a lot that the goalkeeper can do, especially when you have some pace on the ball. So Marquinhos is also the guy that had actually scored a goal against Bayern Munich in the quarterfinal, but he was actually taken out because of an injury. So, and I actually did some research on Marquinhos. He doesn't score a lot for PSG, but it seems as though he is a high-profile goal scorer, as in he scores a lot in games that matter. So that's pretty good for him. We'll look forward to him playing a vital role in the next match coming up. Phil Foden had a really good chance to score in the 42nd minute, but he, in my opinion, he appeared to go for a power shot as opposed to a finesse shot, and he actually kicked the ball directly at Navas. He pretty much had an open shot. I don't want to say an open goal. It was him, and Navas was there, but he ended up went for more of a power shot, and as he went for that power shot, it went straight to Navas, and Navas is not a bad goalie. He's a very good goalie, and he's going to end up being able to stop something like that. So in the 61st minute, there was an actual, I think, in my opinion, pretty sensational looking overhead kick attempt by Kevin De Bruyne, but it actually ended up going over the net. Then a few minutes later, Kevin De Bruyne ended up in the 64th minute. He inevitably scored. And so he was maybe 15, 20 yards outside of the 18-yard box, closer, on the close side to the camera. And he ended up playing the ball into the box, and it was actually supposed to be a cross, but it ended up not getting deflected, and it ended up going into the goal anyway. And Navas, who I've always said great things about, because I think he's still a great goalie. Obviously, PSG's got him. But anyway, Navas ended up thinking that someone was going to end up putting something on the end of this, so it was going to end up, you could tell that he thought it was going to end up getting deflected, or that it was going to completely miss the goal. I think that there was enough spin on the ball that once it hit the grass, that it kind of made a little bit of a left movement and ended up going into the goal, and nobody even ended up touching it. So Kevin De Bruyne ended up getting a goal off of a cross that ended up just happening to go into the goal. So, I think Navas was in the right place for the defense. He just ended up kind of getting a goal off of a freak situation that normally doesn't really happen all that much. So Kevin De Bruyne played the ball well. It just so happened to go in, and no one even touched it. Finally, in the 71st minute, Mahrez ended up getting a free kick, and he took it from right outside. I guess maybe it was 5 yards outside of the 18-yard box, right at the top of the box. He kicked the ball. He kicked it at like waist level as well, so it wasn't even like it was going over the wall or anything like that. He kicked it at waist level. It ended up going between two of the PSG guys in their wall, and then ended up going into the back of the net. And Navas was definitely understandably upset, because realistically the wall didn't even do their job. They actually did the job of the other team by blocking the ability for Navas to even see what it was that was going on. So Navas was definitely understandably upset. So anyway, at this point, that was the 2 goals for Manchester City, and the 1 goal for PSG. The only thing of merit that happened in the rest of the match was a straight red card that was picked up by Idrissa Gueye. I'm not exactly 100% sure how to pronounce his name. In the 77th minute, he got that, and I would say it was definitely deserved. It was definitely a very reckless attempt at a tackle. But I don't think he meant to do it. I don't think he ended up meaning to put his cleats in the calf. So it happens. He ended up getting a red card. It was reckless. It's just what it is. And at the end of the game, PSG, I think we're kind of worried, because Manchester City is a very good team. And as you could start seeing the game kind of going away from them, especially because it's 2 away goals, that's a hard thing to come back from. So, you start seeing that, and, PSG started to become very, very sloppy at the end of this match. So moving forward, what I think is going to end up happening in the next match, I think that Manchester City are going to end up winning. I don't really think that there's much doubt in that. They have a 2-goal lead, and both goals are away goals. Basically, all they really have to do is score 1 goal, and they're pretty much golden. Unless PSG end up scoring a lot, which is possible. PSG have a lot of skill. They have a lot of really, really good players, a lot of really good talent, and as long as they put the ball in the net, I think it's possible, but I don't think it's probable. With all that being said, I don't really need to remind anybody of the beating that PSG put on Barcelona in this particular competition. So it's possible. I just don't think that it's probable. So I would like to see PSG pull it out and move forward into the final and play either Real Madrid or Chelsea. And the main reason I say that is because the last thing I really want to see in a final is Chelsea and Manchester City play, especially because they play at least twice a year anyway. I think they played twice this year already. They have another match against each other coming up in league play, I think it is. And then if they play in the final, that'd be a 4th time that they play this year. So as much fun as it is to watch Chelsea and Manchester City play against each other, I think that it would be interesting to see teams that don't play each other all that often play each other again. So an ideal final for me, as I've mentioned I would like to see Chelsea against PSG, and Chelsea win the whole tournament, and Christian Pulisic actually score a goal in the final. And I think that, like I said before, I think that would actually be really good for American soccer. Now that I have finished talking about the Champions League and what I think that could end up happening with it, I actually want to go back a little bit and talk about the Super League that was the hot idea for maybe a few days, or I guess maybe, I don't know, you could probably take it down to the hours that it was actually a real idea. So as information started coming out about this, I guess that we have discovered that not every team was really totally behind it. And if I were to guess, there were some teams that said that they were going to end up doing it purely because of FOMO. That's a fear of missing out. And that's the same reason why, like, FOMO is the same thing, like people buy a stock while it's on its way up, and then when it inevitably falls, they get beat up and everything. So anyway, I think that some of these teams joined only because they didn't want to be left out of a guaranteed spot. So the idea was that 15 teams were going to end up having guaranteed spots, and 5 teams were going to have qualifying spots. So I think that a lot of teams joined up specifically because they didn't want to have to be a qualifying spot. They wanted that guaranteed chance to be in this league every single year. So I think that they didn't want to be left out, and they didn't want to have to qualify. So it really kind of sucks that everything happened this way. So basically, seems like to me it was for greed. I don't know for certain, but at the speed in which these teams started backing out due to the public backlash, you can tell that some of them were not really in it totally for the right reasons. As I've mentioned earlier with a kind of a stock market example, with the stock market, when you buy something, you buy a stock because other people are buying it or because it's going up, and then the first sign of loss, you panic and you sell. That's essentially the same thing. These teams essentially panic sold this Super League. I think it was a terrible idea. I don't think it was a good thing. I don't think that they thought it out. And like I said before, I think that they were just jumping in because they didn't want to get left out. They didn't stick to their convictions on any of this stuff, and they ended up panic selling and backing out immediately. So that's what I think is going on here with all of this, and the reason why it started and then essentially was done immediately. So anyway, as information came out, we find out that there are really 2 people that are kind of pushing this league, and it's Florentino Perez of Real Madrid and Andrea Angeli of Juventus. The news broke of this league on Sunday, April 18th of 2021, but people were pretty confused as what was going on. I didn't really have 100% knowledge of what was going on. I didn't even really know what the Super League was at first. So at that point, it was kind of really confusing, and nothing was really laid out really super well. On Monday, the following day, people were talking about it, and the public backlash really started at that point. And I followed it on Twitter and everything, and it was pretty rough. There was a couple of people that actually came out and commentators and stuff, and they were very, very passionate against this Super League, and you could tell that they really love the game, and they love the structure, and they love everything that they had going on. There's a few people that really let their opinions be known. So Tuesday, April 20th, so not very long after the news of this came out, Chelsea said that they intended on not participating in the Super League. Soon after that, it was followed by Manchester City, then Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, and then finally Tottenham ended up backing out. So that would be all 6 of the English teams. Later on in the same day, Atletico Madrid, Inter Milan, and AC Milan also announced that they were going to be pulling out of the league. So from the announcement of the league to whence all the teams essentially decided to pull out, about 2 days, about 2 days went by. 9 of the 12 teams that had already basically said that they were going to do it disappeared. And the only teams remaining were Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus. So 2 of the guys that are pushing for it were associated, obviously, with Real Madrid and Juventus. I don't know the specifics behind everything that went on here. when it comes to who in each of these organizations have said they are willing to do this, but I can't imagine that the players really had much to do with it unless they were promised some sort of incentive of extra pay for participating in this. And honestly, if anything, I think the players are the ones that were probably the first to come out and say that they were against it. Maybe not publicly, but they were probably the first to come out and say that they were against it inside of the organization. And realistically, if it was me and I was being told that I was going to end up being banned from international play, league play, domestic play, everything like that, I would end up coming out and being like, I think this, maybe we should think about this a different way, because none of these money, none of these numbers were guaranteed. That's what they were saying. They were saying they were guaranteed, but none of this stuff was 100% guaranteed. And then if these are people's livelihoods that they're talking about. So if I was a player for one of these 12 teams, I'd probably end up coming out and saying that I'm not behind it. So that's my opinion. That's what it is. So I think what the executives did was not really fully think through their decision. I think that they were thinking with their wallets and not their hearts. They have to remember why they got involved in this game to begin with, and why they continue to do what they do. Remember how they got to the spot where they're at, and understand that the current structure allows for a small team to get promoted and compete with the larger teams. These leagues are much, much more than Manchester City and Liverpool playing each other. It's about teams like Leeds United and Aston Villa being promoted and being able to play with the big clubs. Like, that's what this is about. It's about building a structure that is sustainable and for future. That's what this is about. It's not about choking down the market and giving the market to 12 teams. I think this is a terrible idea. My opinion, I think it was terrible. And now, as we close on this current season, let's actually take a look at the standings and see who is actually really maybe deserving of a spot, possibly either in next year's Champions League or in the Super League. All right, and the biggest one we can see is from the English Premier League here. So obviously, in first place, we have Manchester City. Second place, Manchester United. Those are two teams that have decided to join up. In third place in the English Premier League right now is Leicester City. Fourth place is Chelsea. Fifth place is West Ham. I think it's West Ham United, but fifth place. Now, in sixth place, we have Tottenham. That's the team that decided to join the Super League. Seventh place, we have Liverpool. That's not even Europa League, right? Eighth is Everton. Ninth place is Arsenal. Ninth place, and they want to be a team that ends up getting the spot in the Super League? You got to be kidding me. You can't do that. I get it. You want the guaranteed revenue. You want the guaranteed everything, but you can't be ninth place in the Premier League and then say that you deserve a spot. You can't even be seventh place. Liverpool's a good team, but you can't be seventh place and do that. You're getting beat out by two teams that aren't even playing Champions League this year. Leicester City and West Ham. In La Liga, obviously, three of the teams that decided to join up, Atletico Madrid is first, Real Madrid is second, and Barcelona is third. But Atletico Madrid decided to back out. Real Madrid and Barcelona didn't. And Atletico Madrid, unless something happens to them, they're probably going to end up winning La Liga this year. If we move on to Serie A, you have Inter Milan in first place, Atalanta in second place, Juventus in third, and AC Milan in fourth. So yeah, you have three of the best teams, three of the teams that have chosen it, and they are in fourth, and they're in the top four places. And I think that they're going to end up making Champions League next year. I think that Italy is four. All of these countries, Italy, Spain, and France, I'm pretty sure they all provide four to the Champions League. So I don't know who's in fourth place right now for La Liga, but anyway, Inter Milan has already, I think, pretty sure that they've already clinched the league title, the Serie A title. They're 13 points clear of second place of Atalanta. So you can't sit here and tell me and make an argument that all of these teams are deserving to play in a guaranteed revenue-producing league every single year. You might be able to make the argument for Inter Milan, Juventus, because an AC Milan, and you could make it for Barcelona and Real Madrid and maybe Atletico Madrid. But for right now, Arsenal, Liverpool, I don't think that you can. I don't think you can end up making that argument right now. As poorly as they have been playing, I don't think that you can make that argument. As we can see, the pressure to compete and produce revenue is much higher in England, since 6 of the teams that decided to join this are all in England. And I do think that soccer is probably maybe a little bit bigger in England, possibly. They have all these large teams, they have large clubs and everything like that. And England has a lot of influence on the rest of the world, especially when we look at history and everything like that. So I understand how these clubs have built up and everything like that, and the pressure to compete is there. But like I said, they have 6 teams that decided to join the league. You can see that Liverpool, who won the title last year, is in 7th place, right? So the team that won the English Premier League last year is in 7th place right now. They played Champions League this year, but if they stay where they're at, they're not going to be playing Champions League this year, or this coming year. So it sucks, but that's the way it is. Arsenal is in 9th place. They were in 8th place last year and 5th place the year before that. I don't think that really earns them the opportunity or the right to be able to come out and say that they deserve to be playing in the Super League, that they deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as Inter Milan or Manchester City. I don't think that 9th place, it looks like they're getting worse the last 3 years. 5th place, 8th place, 9th place. Maybe something's going to change. Maybe they move up. But things look like, to me, that they're getting worse. So I don't think that ends up giving them the right to play in this league every single year. Playing in these top leagues is something that should be earned. If you get relegated, that sucks. But it's just the way it is. Become a better organization. Get better players. Try harder. That's the way that this stuff is designed. Manchester City and Aston Villa don't have the same amount of money. They can't go out and get the same players. So you have to become a better organization if you want to get promoted and you want to do this stuff. And that's what I would say to teams like Arsenal or Liverpool. Liverpool's got I don't know what the hell's going on with their team right now and why they keep losing and why they keep dropping points and everything, unless they were focused on everything else other than league play and trying to make sure that they were actually going to get a chance to play in the Champions League next year. I don't know. I don't think that this is something that that should be just given to these teams. You have to be a good organization and effectively compete in your league play to be given the opportunity to play in something like the Super League or the Champions League. Originally, when I did this, my last video, I had mentioned that I thought that the European Super League was a bad idea because I figured what would end up happening is it would create something similar to what we have in the U.S., where the same teams play all the time regardless how good they are. Not much has changed in my opinion on that because I still think that that's going to end up being terrible. It would mean that doing the Super League would mean more money for the teams, but I think that it would be worse for the sport. I will say that it would be interesting to see the big teams play each other on a more regular basis. And so I do understand why they want to do this. But the only way that I can see that working out and being a good thing is if they do a qualifying system kind of like what they have right now for the Champions League, not having these guaranteed spots, and actually playing this Super League something similar to the Premier League or La Liga, where they have the 38 matches, one home, one away, and whoever wins the Super League, maybe they play the winner of the Champions League or something like that. I could see that working, and it doesn't have to be 38 matches. Home and away. It could be something less. It could just be matches that they play around Europe. Doesn't have to be home or away or anything like that. It could just be things that get played around Europe or maybe possibly around the world. And maybe that's what the plan could be, and try to get more people from outside of Europe involved in European soccer. Maybe that's the idea. Maybe that could be a direction that they take this. I think that they could probably spin it in that way. But ultimately, I think that what they should be doing is have a qualifying standard that doesn't necessarily allow the same teams to have a guaranteed spot, regardless of whether it is that they suck or not. I mean, if you're going to allow 15 teams to play in it every single year and allow 5 teams to qualify, what good are you doing when some of those 15 teams that have a guaranteed spot each year suck? Obviously, a minute ago we were talking about Arsenal and Liverpool. Liverpool doesn't suck, and I don't think Arsenal sucks. They have good players. They're good teams. They're just not in good positions currently in the table. Now, you might end up, if you finish high in the table, like Leicester City, they're going to play Champions League next year. They're not guaranteed anything. They're not one of the big teams. They won the Premier League a couple of years ago, but they get the opportunity to play. That's the big thing. In my opinion, that's the big thing. They get the opportunity. They earned it, so they get the opportunity. Teams like Arsenal and Liverpool are expecting to be able to play, not earning the opportunity to play. They're expecting it. And those games between teams that aren't good, those aren't games that people are going to want to watch. Who wants to go and see Arsenal get obliterated by Barcelona? Is that really what anybody wants to see on a regular basis? It's not. I'm not totally against a new competition, but rigging the competition so that 15 teams are guaranteed a spot regardless of their skill is dumb. It's crooked, it's greedy, and those teams should be ashamed of themselves for coming out and actually trying to do this. I get it. You had a little bit of FOMO. You thought that you were going to end up missing out. You wanted to be a guaranteed spot, so you said that you did it. They should come out and say that. At least I think that I think that would be good if they did that. If a couple of teams come out and said, "Yeah, I'm not really 100% behind this. I just didn't want to miss out." None of them are ever going to say that, I don't think, but we'll see. Still think it's dumb. And if they do this, if they decide to go forward with this, I think that it will eventually develop a system like we have here in the U.S., where if you lose every game, no one cares other than the diehard fans of the team. And that's kind of where you're going to be stuck at. Those executives and owners need to remember why they got involved in the sport and understand that the sport is this big because of the fans. They need to listen to the fans and understand that they actually ended up messing up. Anyway, I think it's a dumb thing that they did this Super League. If they develop a new league that has qualifying where they're going to end up, it's not going to be like the Super League where it's like 10 teams and they all compete against each other in the year around Europe or around the world. I think that we could probably get behind that, but there needs to be a qualifying standard, not 10 teams that are guaranteed spots. If that happens, then you're no better than the NFL here in the U.S., where you have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Jets who just completely sucked all year, and then they actually get the first pick in the draft, right? That's ridiculous. There's no incentive to be good. Actually, the incentive to suck is that you're going to get a good draft pick. You're going to get to pick the first person coming out of college. So if that's what you guys want, if that's how you guys want to end up doing it, then go forward with it. But I think it's a terrible idea. Anyway, moving forward, I hope that they don't do this Super League, and I'm looking forward to watching these Champions League matches that are coming up both today and I think tomorrow. The next few days should be pretty nice to see what happens as we're moving forward into the final. So that's all I've got, and be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe.